fall, Diana Chen stared at the termination letter in her trembling hands, the words blurring through her tears. After 3 years of dedicated service at Morrison Marketing, she was being let go due to budget cuts. The cramped office in downtown seemed to shrink around her as she packed her meager belongings into a cardboard box. "I'm so sorry, Diana," whispered Jessica, her desk neighbor. "This is so unfair. You're the hardest worker here." Diana forced a smile, though her heart was breaking. "It's okay. Things happen for a reason, right?" But as she rode the subway home to her tiny apartment in Queens, Diana knew things were far from okay. The rent was due in 2 weeks, her mother's medical bills were piling up, and her savings account had exactly $247 left. At 24, she felt like her carefully planned life was crumbling around her. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "How was work today, sweetheart?" Diana couldn't bear to tell Alina the truth. Not yet. Her mother had already sacrificed so much, working double shifts as a nurse, to put Diana through college. She deserved better than a daughter who couldn't even keep a basic marketing job. That evening, while scrolling through social media to distract herself from her problems, Diana's heart stopped. There on her feed was a photo that made her stomach drop. Sebastian Torres, her childhood friend and secret crush, was announcing his engagement to Victoria Sterling, the stunning daughter of a real estate mogul. Diana stared at the image of Sebastian in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, his arm around Victoria's waist. The woman was everything Diana wasn't. Tall, blonde, sophisticated, with a kind of natural elegance that came from a lifetime of privilege. The engagement ring on her finger probably cost more than Diana made in 2 years. She remembered the last time she'd seen Sebastian 6 months ago, at a coffee shop near Columbia University. They'd talked for hours about his tech startup and her marketing dreams. He'd seemed so genuine, so much like the sweet boy who used to share his lunch money with her when they were kids in the same Queens neighborhood, before his family struck it rich. Now he was marrying someone from his new world, someone who belonged in the penthouse apartments and charity galas that had become his life. The opportunity the next morning brought unexpected news. Diana's phone rang with a call from Preston and Associates, one of the most prestigious marketing firms in Manhattan. "Miss Chen, we received your resume and were very impressed," said the crisp voice of Margaret Preston herself. "We have an immediate opening for a senior marketing coordinator. The position starts at $95,000 annually." Diana nearly dropped her phone. That was more than triple her previous salary. "I'm very interested," she managed to say, wonderful, however. "I should mention that this role requires someone with significant life experience. Our clients are high-profile individuals who expect to work with sophisticated professionals. The interview is tomorrow at 2 p.m. After hanging up, Diana's elation quickly turned to panic. Sophisticated professionals? Life experience? Who's a 4-year-old virgin who still lived with her mother and whose idea of fine dining was the neighborhood Chinese restaurant? How could she possibly convince them she belonged in their world? That evening, Diana found herself standing outside Sebastian's luxury apartment building in Tribeca, her heart pounding. The doorman, dressed better than she was, looked at her with barely concealed skepticism. "I'm here to see Sebastian Torres," she said, trying to sound confident. Minutes later, she was riding the elevator to the penthouse, her reflection in the polished steel walls showing just how out of place she looked. When the doors opened, Sebastian was waiting, and Diana's breath caught in her throat. He looked incredible, dyed. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and he wore a casual white button-down that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. But it was his eyes that captured her, those warm brown eyes that had comforted her through childhood's scraped knees and teenage heartbreaks. "Asterisk Diana," said his face, lighting up with genuine surprise and pleasure. "This is unexpected. Come in." His apartment was a masterpiece of modern design, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city. Diana felt like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole into a world where everything was beautiful and expensive and far beyond her reach. "Would you like some wine?" Sebastian asked, already moving toward a temperature-controlled wine cabinet. "Sure," Diana said, though she rarely drank anything stronger than beer. They settled on his leather sofa, and Diana found herself studying his face. Sebastian had always been handsome, but success had added a new dimension to his attractiveness. There was confidence in the way he moved, authority in his voice that spoke of a man accustomed to being heard and obeyed. "So what brings you to my humble home?" he teased, and Diana almost laughed. Nothing about this place was humble. The request Diana took a sip of wine, something smooth and complex that probably cost more per bottle than she used to make in a week, and tried to gather her courage. "Sebastian, I need to ask you something, and you're going to think I'm crazy?" His expression grew serious. "You can ask me anything, Diana. You know that." But looking at him now, seeing the photos of him with Victoria scattered around the apartment, Diana wasn't sure she knew anything anymore. "I lost my job yesterday," she began, and saw genuine concern flash across his features. "Diana, I'm so sorry. But you know I can help with anything you need. Money, connections, whatever it takes." She shook her head. "It's not about money. Well, not entirely. I have an interview tomorrow for an amazing position, but they want someone with life experience. Someone sophisticated." Sebastian frowned. "You are sophisticated. You're intelligent, talented, hardworking. I'm a 24-year-old virgin who's never been anywhere or done anything," Diana blurted out, then felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. Sebastian set down his wine glass carefully, his eyes never leaving her face. "Diana," he said slowly, "what exactly are you asking me?" She forced herself to meet his gaze. "I'm asking you to help me become the kind of woman who could get that job. Someone with experience. Someone who knows what it's like to be with a man." Sebastian stood up abruptly, running his hands through his hair. "Do you hear what you're saying? You want me to sleep with you so you can get a job." "Not just any man," Diana said quietly. "You, the person I trust most in the world." He turned to face her, and she saw something in his expression that made her pulse quicken. "Diana, you don't understand what you're asking. I understand perfectly. I need this job, Sebastian. My mother's medical bills, the rent, everything depends on it. I trust you to make it special, to make it mean something." Sebastian moved to the window, staring out at the glittering city below. "What about Victoria? What about your life, your future?" Diana joined him at the window. About them? You're getting married to someone who fits in your world. I'm just asking for one night to help me find my place in mine." When he turned to look at her, Diana saw desire warring with uncertainty in his eyes. "You have no idea how long I've wanted." "You," he said softly, her breath caught. "What?" "Since we were teenagers. Diana, since the day you wore that blue dress to your high school graduation, and I realized you weren't just my friend anymore. You were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen." Diana felt the world tilt on its axis.
Ow.
"But you never said anything?" "Because I knew I was going to be pushed into this life, these expectations. My father made it clear that I needed to marry someone from the right family, someone who could help the business. I couldn't ask you to be part of that circus." Reached up to touch his face, feeling the slight roughness of stubble against her palm. "What if I don't want to be protected? What if I want to choose for myself?" Sebastian's control finally snapped. He pulled her against him, his lips finding hers in a kiss that was desperate and hungry and years in the making. The night that changed everything, Diana melted into him, feeling the hard planes of his chest through his shirt, breathing in the scent of his cologne mixed with something uniquely him. "Are you sure about this?" he murmured against her lips. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Sebastian lifted her in his arms, carrying her to his bedroom with its massive bed and view of the twinkling city. He set her down gently, his hands framing her face. "I want you to know that. Whatever happens after tonight, this isn't just about helping you with a job. This is about us. About how I feel about you." Diana nodded, too overwhelmed by sensation and emotion to speak. When Sebastian began unbuttoning her simple blouse, his fingers trembling slightly, she realized he was as nervous as she was. "You're so beautiful," he whispered, pressing soft kisses along her collarbone. "I've dreamed about this for so long." Diana had read about passion in books, seen it in movies, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of Sebastian's hands on her. skin, his lips trailing fire wherever they touched. He worshipped her body with a reverence that made her feel like a goddess, taking his time to learn every curve, every sensitive spot that made her gasp and arch beneath him. When he finally made her completely his, Diana understood that she was crossing more than just a physical threshold. With every gentle thrust, every whispered endearment, every soft kiss, Sebastian was claiming her heart as thoroughly as he was claiming her body. Afterward, they lay tangled together in his expensive sheets, Diana's head on Sebastian's chest as he stroked her hair. "What happens now?" she asked softly. Sebastian's hand stilled. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I know I can't pretend this didn't happen. I can't pretend I don't love you." Diana lifted her head to look at him. "You love me? I've loved you since we were kids, Diana." Tonight just made it impossible to deny anymore. As dawn broke over the city, Diana knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she was no longer the same woman who had knocked on Sebastian's door the night before. She had found her confidence, her power, and most importantly, she had found love in the most unexpected place. The job interview seemed like a distant concern now. All that mattered was the man holding her in his arms and the future they might build together, despite all the obstacles in their way. But reality had a way of intruding on even the most perfect moments. Sebastian's phone buzzed with a text, and Diana saw Victoria's name on the screen. The weight of what they had done, what it meant for both their lives, settled over them like a heavy blanket. "I have to tell her," Sebastian said quietly, his voice filled with resolve. "I can't marry her now, not after this, not when I know what it feels like to be with someone I truly love." Diana felt her heart soar and break at the same time. "What about your family, your business?" "I'll figure it out," he said, pulling her closer. "Some things are worth fighting for." The new beginning 3 months later. Diana stood in her new office at Preston and Associates, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. The interview had gone better than she could have imagined. The confidence she'd found that night with Sebastian had transformed her, given her the poise and self-assurance that impressed Margaret Preston and her team. But the real change had come from within. She no longer saw herself as the scared girl from Queens who didn't belong in this world. Was Diana Chen, a talented marketing professional who had earned her place through hard work and determination. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sebastian. "Dinner tonight? I have news." Diana smiled, her heart racing as it always did when she heard from him. The past 3 months had been challenging. Sebastian had indeed broken off his engagement with Victoria, causing a scandal that rocked both their families. His father had threatened to cut him off, and Victoria's family had pulled their investment from his company. But Sebastian had been true to his word. He'd fought for them, for their love, even when it seemed like the whole world was against them. He'd started over, building a new company from the ground up, and Diana had been there every step of the way, offering her marketing expertise and unwavering support. That evening, they met at a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, the same neighborhood where they'd grown up. It was a far cry from the expensive establishments Sebastian used. Too frequent, but it was real, authentic, like their love. "You look radiant," Sebastian said, taking her hand across the table. "Success suits you." "I learned from the best," Diana replied, squeezing his fingers. Sebastian's expression grew serious. "I got a call today. My father wants to meet with me. He's ready to accept our relationship, Diana. He wants to welcome you into the family." Diana felt tears prick her eyes. "Really? Really? Okay. He's seen how hard you work, how much you've helped me rebuild. He respects you, Diana. More importantly, he sees how much I love you." That night, as they walked through the streets of their old neighborhood, Diana reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It had started with desperation, with a need to transform herself for a job. But somewhere along the way, she'd discovered that the transformation she'd really needed was to see herself as worthy of love, worthy of fighting for. 6 months later, Diana stood in the same blue dress she'd worn to her high school graduation, the one Sebastian had mentioned that first night. But this time, she wasn't graduating. This time, she was getting married. Intimate, held in the community center, where they'd both learned to dance as children. Their families were there, united at last. Diana's mother, healthy and proud, sat in the front row next to Sebastian's parents, who had come to love Diana as their own daughter. As Sebastian took her hand and promised to love her for the rest of their lives, Diana thought about that desperate night when she'd knocked on his door, asking for help to become someone else. She discovered that she didn't need to become someone else at all. She just needed to become herself, confident and unafraid. "I love you, Mrs. Torres," Sebastian whispered as they shared their first kiss as husband and wife. "I love you too," Diana replied, knowing that their greatest adventure was just beginning. Later, as they danced to the same song that had played at their high school prom, Diana realized that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the most unexpected requests. Sometimes what we think we need isn't what we need at all. Sometimes we just need someone to believe in us enough to help us find our way home, in Sebastian's arms, surrounded by everyone they loved. Diana had found her home at last. The E&D like, and subscribe for more emotional romance stories that will touch your heart.